Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 1, Episode 5. This is clearly the episode where everything starts to become a little bit clearer.
Yeah, there were a lot of really good moments in this, and I'm hoping that for the people out there that haven't been the biggest fan of the Reva character, you will come around because the story was really good.
Her story, really, really good. Fantastic action sequences in this episode. I have one major slab of beef as well that this is a tease, This is something we'll get into a little bit
How do
later
you
on.
have a beef with this episode? Oh my goodness, you got to see Vader pull a ship out of the sky and tear it apart with the Force. It was so good.
Okay, that was not my beef. That was awesome. Like anything.
10 out of 10 for action.
Okay, all right. Well, hit that subscribe button. We will be here, of course, to talk about the finale of Obi-Wan next week. And also, of course, there's so much in the Disney Plus Star Wars universe coming with Andor, The Mandalorian, so much other stuff. We don't want you guys to miss any of that either.
And follow us over on Instagram, which is Matt and Jess TV. We have lots of cool pictures up over there.
All right, so let's just stay on the Vader being awesome / terrifying for a moment here, because it's like, this is what everybody wants to see for Vader. We know he's not, at least right now, going to be the most redeemable character in the world, so let's just make him terrifying.
Yeah, no, he's terrifying, but there is still parts of him that, feel, and that whole sort of sequence that we kept going back and forth to in Vader's mind of, him training with Obi-Wan and sort of really trying to, figure things out for himself. You really saw that really affected him deeply, where he really felt like his way of thinking of things was the right way of thinking, and that there was sort of this tension that just Obi-Wan just wouldn't ever really listen, that maybe there was something that could be found in some kind of a balance, where instead Obi-Wan was just like, nah, you're wrong, this is the way, kind of thing, and that's the only way that it was. But we actually saw Darth Vader using some of the tricks that Obi-Wan used on him way back in the day, like taking the lightsaber away from Reva. It was really good to sort of see that, humanity in him of the, I still learned something from my master. He has stuck with me, even though I'm mad. He's in there.
It's a little bit like Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do finding a way to use their different karate moves together, and I will say I did appreciate that from Vader. Not that I want to say I appreciate many actions of Darth Vader much of the time, but those flashbacks were justified. It was nice to see Hayden Christensen actually get some real face time on this show after being hyped all year.
No, I think that they were really important, because I think that it really did craft sort of the internal struggle that is going on with Darth Vader. He isn't just like the baddest guy in the universe. He is that as well, but there is more that is going on inside him. He's always had a lot of conflict, obviously a lot of anger, and has felt a lot like nobody really listens to him when he feels like he does know stuff too. And even seeing it back then, with Obi-Wan, the same thing, where it's like, oh, you can use other things. It doesn't always have to be this way. Your only driving force is this one thing, and it's not exactly true.
I feel like it's got to be, here I am, sympathizing with Vader to a certain extent. It's got to be lonely to be an all-powerful Sith Lord who has a lot of people constantly out to get you, because it's a great transition into the Reva stuff in this episode, where even with Reva, here is someone who was under him, who is a valuable part of the Empire, and then lo and behold, she wants to kill him too, and it's just sort of like, if you're Vader, clearly you can't trust anyone, because even your own people are inevitably going to turn on you if they have an ulterior motive.
Yeah, I mean, it's been said for the past few weeks, a lot of people felt that Reva was one of the younglings, and that was sort of her story and her connection to everything. And as it turns out, it's true. She ended up, talking to Obi-Wan through the wall, where he kind of put it all together, and he was like, oh my goodness, how did you know that Vader was Anakin. Like, you're too young to really have known anything unless you were one of the younglings, and he came through with Order 66 and killed everybody. And she kind of, really explained what happened. Yeah, I was there. I thought he was there to help me, and he didn't. He killed all my, family, basically, people who were my family to me. So I had to just pretend like I was dead to get through this.
That discussion with her and Obi-Wan was awesome. The fight scene with her and Vader was incredible. It was sort of like a level 1 character in a video game, like fighting somebody who's like level 100, and Vader's not even really even using his hands or like doing anything that extreme at first. He's just like using the Force against her in all these different ways.
Watching her using a lightsaber against him using the Force, and that is it, was a 10 out of 10 moment for me. Besides him destroying that ship with the Force, that was incredible. But watching that fight was so good, and it was a good reminder of just how powerful he really is, and that it's going to be very hard for Obi-Wan to end up beating him, because he is not only as powerful as he is, but he knows all of Obi-Wan's tricks as well. So it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, and it's not even like, Reva picked up a lightsaber 2 days before this and was like, I want to know how to use this. It's like she's been doing this for the big chunk of her life, and still she can't hold a candle to Vader in that way.
No, especially since it was revealed that he knew this whole time. Out comes the Grand Inquisitor. And now listen, we've already heard in the comments, and we already know that it's canon, that the Grand Inquisitor's alive and he doesn't die. Okay, we know that. You don't need to leave it in the comments. But it was still, for me, a really great surprise to see him come out like that, because, we've kind of mentioned this on the channel already, that we're not like deep into the lore, and that these videos are not that. We're something else. We're kind of the videos for all the Star Wars people out there that, the more casual people that might not know that type of stuff. So for me, I was just like, when he came around, he's like, I'll just take that pin. It's like, what?
I'm going to do my impression of Grand Inquisitor showing up to this scene. He was just like feeling himself. He was just like walking. He did his version of like that old like Emma Roberts gif of like, surprise beep, you thought you saw the last of me. I love this. I am going to use the Grand Inquisitor showing up as like a meme for months on end. But okay, this is where I do get to the beef that I have with this episode. And this is not just with this episode. All supervillains. If you are a supervillain out there for a future Star Wars show or any other show, I'm speaking to you guys. How are you not making sure the people you are fighting are dead? Like, I don't care if you're like, oh, I want to make them suffer. I only want to seriously wound them. I mean, we talked about this with the Blacklist in the past with Mr. Kaplan. It's like, okay, how are you leaving Reva there, making her even more intent on getting revenge than ever before? I don't get it.
Okay, I get it. And the reason I get it is because Vader knows that he's way more powerful. He's way more protected. And Reva is just, she's done. There is nothing else she can really do. And Vader loves to make people suffer. So the whole idea of, you're right back where you were, you're in the gutter, you're nothing, you'll never have this opportunity again. You had your opportunity, you blew it. You were never going to get to me anyways. And now you can live with that, because now you have, no real power, no real nothing, nobody on your side. You can't beat me in a fight. So all the best to you. I was like, that's dark.
It is dark, but Vader, you blew it. You made the mistake. This is where, okay, so, Haja drops the communicator on the way out, which, by the way, never expected to see Haja again, but the communicator drops, Reva picks it up in the closing seconds, then she finds out this very important little bit of news here about Tatooine, and it's like, okay, somehow the nearly dead body of Reva is going to find her way to Tatooine and try to draw out Darth Vader. Is that where we're going here?
Okay, here's my beef with the episode. she gets this communicator with this garbled message
Yeah.
that she doesn't know who it's from because you can't see that it's Bale. So it's like kind of half
Yeah.
there. And all she hears is like, boy, Tatooine, not really a lot else. And I was just kind of like, that could be anything. Like, legit, that could be anything. She doesn't really know anything, and there's not really enough information there for it to be like, is this critical? Like, what is this? Who is this really about? Like, all they say is the boy. Like, she doesn't really know anything. So I was kind of like, I think they needed to give a little bit more so that it was way more clear to her what it was, and that she's not going to be some mastermind that can just put those pieces together and be like, oh, okay, I got to go to Tatooine because there's a boy there and he's got the Force and he's really important and he's really important to Obi-Wan. And like, it's a lot from a little message.
Is a lot from a very little garbled message. It's also a lot where I'm going to be able to believe that Reva's going to be able to like stand up in like 20 minutes and find a way to get there. Is like, is a medic going to show up at some point here to help her recover?
Well, it's not going to be Tala or your loader.
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
Do I have to talk about Ned B? But boy, I loved you so. Okay. My loader friend here, even in his dying moments, look at how awesome he continued to be. He like took out like 20 stormtrooper red shirts. He then like falls on Tala. At least for 1 second, I kind of thought,
yeah,
he's protecting her. She's gonna live because Ned B, you did it, but no.
No, that was a really, it was a really heartfelt scene. I really ended up liking the Tala character a lot. She ends up taking out, I guess, his self-destruct mechanism and finds a way to sacrifice herself so that Ben can kind of get away. But then we later see him just be like having these memories of, sometimes you need to know when you've lost. And he decides that that's going to be the moment that he can try to use Reva. So he decides to give himself up, talk to Reva, be like, hey, you know what? I'm drawing Vader to you. This is your chance. He'll be here for me. He will not see you coming because he's going to be so focused on me. And he underestimated Darth Vader again, where it was sort of this, all he is anger. There's nothing else. He can't see anything past that clouded vision. And that isn't entirely true.
The problem, I think, sometimes with heroes in particular is that they sort of try to see the world in black and white, and they don't often really think that, okay, this person's a villain, and because they're a villain, they can't see anything other than villainy. They think their, scope is so, myopic and focused, and really, there's a lot of gray in here, and there's a lot of depth, and there's a lot of depth to somebody like Darth Vader, who can, as it turns out, multitask and focus more on just, one person who may be doing something against him. It's like, I don't dislike his plan, but there's a couple of issues.
Yeah, the other thing that I found kind of strange is that Obi-Wan figured out who she was. I thought that it was kind of strange that Obi-Wan didn't have a moment where he was like, well, if I can figure it out, Anakin can figure it out.
Yeah.
Because he was actually there. So he could put, 2 and 2 together to figure this out so that maybe this could have worked out a different way.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't think that. Maybe it's just the heat of the moment sort of thing. Or maybe it is, like you said, he just underestimated what Vader could do.
Or even Reva, and that she didn't figure that out to kind of be just one of them for one moment to be like, oh noes. Okay, if he figured this out, then Vader can figure this out too. Between the two of them, neither one of them had any clue.
Okay, so we only have, I hate to say it, 1 episode left until this season is over, and, we still don't know if there's going to be a season 2. I'm assuming Disney Plus loves money. I'm sure they'll find a way to make that happen, but it's an interesting spot where I think it's pretty fair to assume we're going to have, another Obi-Wan versus Vader showdown, just because that's what this show loves to give us. But we know more or less what happens there, and Tala's already dead, so it's for me as a viewer now, the big focus in the finale is Reva, and what happens to Reva? Does she still exist sort of out there in this Star Wars world?
I really hope so. I have thoroughly enjoyed this character. Her character development has been really good. I loved learning her motivation. I kind of
Yeah.
wish that I'd maybe learned it in the last episode, which was, kind of just a filler,
Yeah.
let's all rescue for the Princess Leia episode. Pour one out for Wade. That episode. This episode was so good, and I really hope that her character is going to continue on, and that either we can get a spin-off of her, which I know, some people may not watch, but I will watch that all day.
I'm really excited because there's not a lot of characters who are explicitly like this within the Star Wars world, and I think killing her.
The only one that's kind of close maybe is Ahsoka. I mean, she's been sort of a little Jedi, a little on the other side. She's kind of like, her own kind of thing. And I could see Reva kind of fitting into that same spot.
Yeah, and that would make it really interesting to see where she sort of goes from here, because we know, okay, she doesn't end up winning in her battle against Darth Vader, but is there another way she can help to take him down? Is there something else that she could do that doesn't disrupt the overall canon of this show?
Yeah, it's going to be hard for her to get revenge now, because he knows who she is. He's known this whole time. He's let her know, she can't get close to him anymore. She's really just with that.
I am really excited to see the end of this season. I think we're going to have some fun, big, interesting stuff. Hopefully some stuff we'll actually be able to talk about in a grander sense that surprises us with Obi-Wan and Vader. I know that can be hard, but go ahead, hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss what we've got coming up there. Follow us on Instagram at Matt and Jess TV, and we will see you here next time.